So today with me is a very good friend of mine, Helen. She has actually been the person to teach me how to structure companies. We've known each other for like, I think 8 to 10 years. And we just go way, way back. And she knew me when I was like just pretty much straight out of college. And it was my first structuring job. And I think I remember on the first day I was on the job, I actually spilled coffee on someone's physical license. You're Helen, and then you looked at me. I was like, I spilled coffee over this guy's trade license. What do I do? And she's like, we tell him, and then we clean the coffee. Back when we had physical licenses.
You knew me back in times when I was not using that often the eye roll.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you were still a naughty kid, just a baby, admit it.
Uh
I was babysitting.
no, no.
I remember how I came first. It was in 2017.
Yeah.
And back in 2017, I remember everyone telling legends how things were like easy, bank accounts open in one instant of time, and like everything was so easygoing, blah, blah, blah. And then out of nowhere, 2017, they say, oh, we are going to implement a VAT tax in UAE. And then everyone, oh my God, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And 2018, it started. Realistically, for some people, things changed a lot. For the others, they just pretended like it never existed and they continued doing whatever they were. And it even worked for some of them. But when they implemented corporate tax now, things are changing for everyone, that's for sure. It's already difficult to ignore that taxes are somewhere around, but at the same point of time, it's not the end of the world. The way people were coming to Dubai, they will continue coming to Dubai. Back in times in 17, more things were physical papers. There was more correspondence physically. Now I think most of things are digital. Registrations mostly are digital, reporting are digital. It's very hard when somebody gonna give you out physical paper and then you try to look for it like years after when trying to close company or something.
I remember having the application binders just to remember cases. So I would keep the application papers always just to remember my clients more thoroughly. And it's so crazy. Like I had this massive like folder full of like client documents in case I lost a scan or something. And it
Oh
was
my God.
crazy time. Oh, physical signatures.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that was such a pain. Like, oh, you didn't sign this properly. It doesn't match your thing. It's kind of like we were banks. It was really odd.
Well, honestly, it still works the same way around, but opposite, because now I have now two cases when clients, it took them already now like around 10 days when they cannot figure out how to do things on portal and they cannot record a video because the internet wouldn't
Oh
fit the
yeah, the
speed
KYC
or
process.
stuff,
Yeah.
like QIC of registration. So it seems like it's super easy when you are in your mature 20 to 30s, when you are young and very happy with computers and like you are very easygoing when it comes to whatever digital. But at the same time, when you are meeting a client who is 45, 50 plus,
Yeah.
they are less confident in computer science. Of course, not everyone, but like still you feel that respect towards computing
Yeah.
things, So it's more difficult to explain that in reality, like I can help you. I will be with you on the phone. Just tell me what you are doing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna help you out. Just like do it. Look, it's also a question that before you could do whatever random things and like you can still figure it out. But now, like people wouldn't open any more companies just for a visa purpose,
Yeah.
because like you'll have to deal with the tax authorities afterwards, which is additional expenses. And
Yeah.
like back in times, I want a visa for myself and my husband or
Yeah.
like my wife. Boom, you open a company, no reporting, nothing. Now, when you want to do that, already you need to think twice, not to go to the wrong directions, because the outcome you'll just spend more and more and more, even just with basic things for like annual corporate tax filing, other stuff. And that's why like market is diversifying as well. You can see now a lot of people who are moving to golden visas when they have the properties, when they have the taxes, like which they are paying to the country, when they have money to make a fixed deposit. Now, many people are opening freelancers.
Yeah.
All this is coming up because it's not anymore feasible to look only in one direction. It makes sense to look what exactly you need. And if you want to afterwards start business, you can always do. You just like need to like do the most difficult part. You need to know what you want, which has always been a difficulty.
And always been hard to source the information to figure out exactly what you want. You brought up the freelance permit, and that's increasing because the tax implications for freelance, LLCs, FZEs are all they can be varied and different. And it's become, weirdly enough, in this attempt to simplify processes, other factors came in that ended up complicating things as well.
Look, and the complication, it comes from few ways. First of all, there are experts in the field and there are fake experts in the field. If you try nowadays to figure out, okay, I hear a lot, I can Google all that. Of course, you can Google whatever you want. But then how do you know who wrote the information which you are reading?
Exactly.
Because most of companies who are like starting up in the market, they hire the experts for the SMM, for the like production of their content from overseas, and the copywriters from overseas who don't actually understand even what is going on. Maybe they have never been to Dubai or any other part of UAE. They just write, they open Google, they Google, and they rewrite the content which they have seen. Then when they have rewritten it, they use information which is maybe outdated long in advance.
That's true.
Or like, even if it's not outdated, you know, maybe it's something which is having different context, but they would never know about it. Few weeks back, I got a request. Our client, he found on Google, he wants a silver visa. I'm like, okay, can you explain to me what is the silver visa? Because government has clearly structured golden visas. There are regular visas. There are some talks about green, blue, and other colorful variations. But silver visa, there is not a single government resource which is talking about it.
Exactly.
So they said it's a visa which is 1 million dirhams price, property, or fixed deposit of 1 million.
Okay.
In reality, from where he got it, he Googled, and there are some consultants who fake the federal government website of ICP. They use many things which are looking similar, and only when you go to it, you figure out that it's not a government website.
Oh my God. So
and I had to do all this work to figure out that in reality, they are talking about retirement visa, but it's not a retirement visa because he is not 55 plus. So they create a confusion to client. Client reads whatever. He looks from overseas. He thinks it's a government portal. How would he know that it's not? So,
and it's only when you zoom in and look at, okay, so you need to understand what the government website actually looks like, and then look at the fake one and look at the difference. So when we work together, and I'm glad you brought up the fact of fake experts. You had people that were, so we created the structure. We then sold the service to the client, and then we did the actual paperwork. What I found out was really shocking after we left the company we were working with together. A lot of people don't do the actual paperwork. They outsource it to some admin person that does it, but that's fine. You could do that, but that's why we know our cases so intimately, because we're physically typing out everything or doing everything ourselves, and we know the quirks of the portals or whatever. If there's ever a glitch, we know like there's a glitch and this is who you contact. I was so shocked to find out after I left the firm that we were working in is that like 90% of the consultants have never touched the portal, have never done anything with it, have never actually processed a visa or anything, whereas we do all of our own work pretty much.
Look, it has pros and cons, obviously. Again, from one side, it's cool when you outsource the part of work and you deal purely with sales, but it's good only for you. For the client, it has some disadvantages, I would say, because when you don't know from A to Z the story, you cannot advise him what would work for his scenario better. You wouldn't know that some authorities, they don't deal with certain aspects.
It's so important to have at least a fundamental understanding of all the authorities, even if if you don't specialize or expert with them. I think that maybe more consultants should consider specializing in a type of structuring as well. I think that everyone does everything, and I really don't like that, weirdly enough. I think that you should stay within a certain sector that you know really well, because there's certain permits or allowances that are perfect for specific jurisdictions, and there's enough work in those jurisdictions to just focus on one part that you find profitable or that you know very well.
Exactly. That's why everyone, when you are good at something, do it. Make sure that people around you know that you are good at it. And like this is where you are showing your expertise, and this is where you can be the best of the best. But when you're starting to do things which you have no clue about, which you do like something which is not even related to your expertise, this is the consequence which you will face and your client will face, because I got approached by another client when back in 2022 they tried to move to UAE, and everyone was saying, oh, we're not sure how if we can open for you or not, blah blah blah. And then one authority says, yes, we can. But the only thing which they didn't notice was the little letters written, and was consultant who didn't know about it as well, that the package which the authority was offering was only for 3 years. And 3 years later, they must rent physical office. 3 years later, the discounted package goes down, and you must go for a real price, which is about 30 to 40% higher than what you were
Yeah.
paying, which is a big pain in the market if you don't need a physical office, but you're forced to take it and pay extra 100,000 a year for that. So I would say like it's all a question like understanding. Like now after we hear this conversation, we start asking what is the cost for like share transfer, what is the cost
Yeah.
for like redomiciliation, everything, and we start hearing prices about 20, 30, 40,000, which is not the case anywhere in the market, but in this specific fancy beautiful authority which client in reality didn't need, but nobody else was able to tell him solidly that yes, we can do that for you. So they just took it because they didn't have options.
There's certain types of consultants that are very much, oh, get the money in and then figure it out later, which is really kind of scary because at least the way we work is that we lay down like like a plan from the start to, okay, and this is what you're going to do 3 years from now. And then if you want to sustain, close, whatever, these are all your routes. And then it's so frustrating that people get diverged from like a slightly lower price or whatever, and then they end up going with, oh, I'd rather walk blindly and pay a little bit less rather than have a comprehensive plan to walk things through. But in the end, whatever. Like,
Exactly, because it's always a choice. If you are happy to work with someone, you're happy to pay, pay. If you are not happy to pay, work with someone who you're okay to pay with. If you want to have everything good and like at good rates and like good transparency, you can mention even that, okay, I feel like I'm a little bit uncomfortable. Like, can you get me a discount? And
yeah,
this is a dialogue where it might be that the client who got drama, he would never even leave from us. He would continue. We didn't know that he's trying to do something himself.
yeah.
So like we couldn't predict that something is going. So it's like, it's always a question of dialogue. What is the most important in UAE specifically, and in every country, in every family, is a dialogue.
Yeah. This actually reminds me of a funny story. Just yesterday, I was with a client and we were driving around. We were heading somewhere together just to have lunch. And then one of the authorities was calling me, and and I asked my client, like, it was on speaker. I was like, can I pick up this phone? It might be something important. And he's like, okay. And then the representative of the authority is, we're not going to process the entry permit for this client because we're missing 20 dirhams from the fee. And I said right away, I was like, listen, like 20 dirhams is nothing. Like, it doesn't matter. I'll pay it right now on a payment link. Please just don't stall the process. The client wants to enter in like 8 days. This has to happen now. And then they're like, sorry, no, goodbye. We'll send you the link. And then my client immediately turns left. He's like, I'm so glad I hired you. Like, this is this. I was like, I do not want to deal with this. This is so silly. And stuff like that happens all the time, depending on where you go, and where they can be pretty strict and stringent. And it kind of falls on the client a lot of the times to provide the right stuff, or have a consultant to manage this kind of relationship to make sure that things go smoothly. It's not as simple as, oh, okay, we just give the paperwork and that's that. No, there's so many little things that can just drag out or stall, things that are just, quite frankly, like pointless, but you still have to go through them just to make things happen. I have received inquiries, clients that pay me like a regular fee for structuring, but they said my one condition is that I want to do it all myself. And I was like, deal. So we opened up our computers. I explained everything, the nuances, taught him how to form a company himself. And I was like, I'm more than happy to, and I think we're more than happy to teach people as well. We're not about gatekeeping information or hiding anything. Even what we're doing now is all about informing people on what can be done and just making sure that people truly understand the implications of what they're doing by entering the UAE market.
Well, look, the thing is, transparency is a key,
Yeah.
but even when entering this market, I got recently a request for people who want to step into the market. They want to become corporate service providers. So I send them a message and like we discuss things in WhatsApp, and in like half an hour, I send them the details, in a quick WhatsApp message with all the details, with options how they can structure the business activity, because there are several options, like how can it be done from perspective they want an office, local company, free zone, whatever signature, and
Yeah.
I mean, the world is moving forward.
Yeah.
That's for the truth of life. But also, like, I have to mention that Dubai is way ahead of time for many countries. When you look at things, how they are digitalized here, how government is pushing the paperless programs, when they are boosting the growth here of forests, they are boosting the growth of like natural resources, trying to change the climate. You feel like you're living so far in future. Digitalization of society. Some countries, they are preferring to have the classical old money style. It has its charm, and it's like
Yeah.
it's not only about the money, but it's also about the population. When you look at people, not all people want to be stuck to the screen, to the phone. I can see that many people, they still enjoy the life which is far from computers, from TV, from digital. Many people enjoy staying in nature. Many people enjoy having the work-life balance, while you can't skip the fact that with the digital you get nowadays more and more of stress, pressure, and favorite anxiety.
No, screw that. I just want to like an internet cable on the back of my head and the screen in my eyes where I'm just zoned out like that. I'd much prefer that over, because I remember the paper era. Like I think we were, especially in our generation, we were just right in between where new technologies were emerging, where we remember the old and the new, and it's so much better. It's so much better.